Hi y'all, this is Vicki. I'm in New Mexico and been a member of Pause for Play since we started last year. This is my birthday week and I wanted to try something that I had never done before this week. And one of those things is making a video on how to do anything really. So I've never done that. And I had also never used gel prints to make an explosion book. I've made explosion books before, but never with gel prints. So this one is made with gel prints that were done on book pages. And I loved how the thinness of the paper and so on was really nice to work with on this one. And you can see that that's why it's called an explosion book. You make folds that then fold up into each other. And when you open it up, it explodes out. And this one I made by adding gel prints directly to the cardstock before I made it into a book. So this one, and these have no embellishments or anything. These are just gel prints, but I didn't have time to add anything more to it. But I was also just enjoying making the backgrounds for these little books. And on the cover, I used again the book cover, the book pages that I was recycling by using them as to put the paint off on as I was gel printing. So I had quite a bit of that. So I wanted to show you how to do an explosion book today. And you can either utilize the gel prints or not. There's all kinds of ways to do it. There's several ways to make to crease the pages, the 8x8 cardstock. And as you can see, the reason you want to use cardstock is because it's going to be utilized a lot and it needs to have the kind of weight it needs to hold the creases and to be able to stand up to multiple times using it. So I have my 8x8 cardstock. I have a couple of pieces of my book pages are ready for the covers. And I wanted to try utilizing something besides chipboard for the covers this time. So I actually used 2 layers of tissue box. And so this is an experiment for me. And I've got those all ready to go. So one of the ways to crease the pages is to use the board, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. And I am going to, because this is an 8x8, I want it in half. So I'm going to go at the 4-inch. Then I'm going to turn it, and I'm going to go crease it at the 4-inch again. And I went offline a little bit, but it'll be all right. There we go. And then I'm going to put this back on. And I'm going to use this as a guide for one diagonal cut. Crease. You only want to crease one of the diagonals, not both. All right. Then what we're going to do is we're going to use a bone folder or whatever you have to utilize for that. And we're going to crease both sides, turning it over and creasing both ways. This gives you the flexibility that you need for your explosion book. So there's one. And then we're gonna also crease the diagonal both ways. And there we go. So that's one way. You can also utilize a trimmer that has a creaser on it. So here's a creaser. We're going to go up 4 inches and turn it, and 4 inches again. And then for this, it's a little bit trickier. You have to line up your corners on the diagonal for your diagonal crease. So make sure you line it up on the center of your guide, and then go like that. And then once again, we're going to crease everything on both sides. If you don't have a bone folder, you can use the edge of your scissor or whatever you like to use for that. Again, we're creasing on both sides of each of those creases. And you can see that it's already liking to fold up. So we're already getting these beautiful creases, and they're wanting to fold up. So when you fold them into each other like this, and crease the edges of those as well. And I do that on both sides. Just makes for, and then I pop it over to the other side and do the same thing. Do that on this one, so let's do this one real quick. And turn it over to the other side. All right, and if you don't have the folders, you can just line up your corners and do it by hand. It's not quite as easy, but it does work. Line up your corners as even as you can. And then takes me longer to do this. Hold it securely and do your creases. It's not quite as precise for me. I'm not as able to hold it as good as I could if I had it already creased. But I just wanted you to know that you don't have to have special tools to do this. All right, we're almost ready here. We have 3 of these pages, if you will. And they're all ready to go. All right, see, I have 3 pop-up pages here, and you can see that I have 2 that are folded and 2 that are solid squares. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put together 3 of these at the solid square area here. I'm going to connect them like this. So I'm going to use my glue. Now this is not duplicatable. I had a tacky glue explode on me and I've been using it out of a baggie. You do not have to do that. Just use your glue regular. So I am using the handle of one of my paintbrushes to spread glue, since it's in a baggie instead of in a container like usual. And I'm just going to smear the glue on one of those squares. And then I'm going to line this up one of the other squares as carefully as I can here. Not trying not to overlap onto where the creases are. Okay. And then I'm going to glue up the next square. The glue is not cooperating. I must be getting low. There we go. You could also use glue tape, the two-sided glue tape if you wanted. That holds it pretty securely. Again, you want something that's going to hold pretty good because the book unfolds and folds pretty often. So here we're going to line up the next one. And I have my 3 8x8 pages are now ready to go. So you can see that now I can go like this, and then like this, and then like this. Alright, so now I have the insides of my explosion book all ready to go. It's pretty easy. And you can see that you have both sides. There we go. All right. If you wanted to, you could take a small gel plate and utilize your small gel plate. I think this one is a 4x4 gel plate if I remember correctly. Put a thin layer of paint on it. And I'm just using a little round thing to make some design here. Keeping it simple. And it's not 4x4, it must be 3x3. You can then print on directly onto your page. Again, thin layers on your gel plate. And utilizing something to make marks. And I'm just going to print the squares, but you can really print any part of your. I am going to use a piece of paper to clean off my brayer here. You don't want too much paint. If you get too much paint on there, you don't get design. You just want a thin layer. most of you probably already know how to use a gel plate. I just think they're a lot of fun. They're one of my favorite things. I enjoy the process and the playing and the versatility of it. It just makes me really happy. And no, I do not clean off my gel plate in between. I love the yummy layers that collect on there. That makes me super happy. All right. I'm not going to spend a lot of time showing you how to do this, but you can see that you can then decorate it utilizing the gel plate or utilizing paper. So this one, a lot of them they use scrapbook paper. I did one where I used just recycled book pages that didn't have anything on them, and then I used some ink around the edges. I couldn't find it to show you, but anyway, there's that. So now you have the inside of your book. And you can see that it really likes to fold. Once you've folded it up several times, it just really likes to fold just how you want it. So let's cover the outside pages. And this is an experiment. I've never done this before, but we're gonna cover our tissue box, 2 layers of cardboard glued together. And they're the same size as the chipboard would have been. It's not quite as thick as the chipboard, but it does feel nice and sturdy. So I'm not unhappy with how it feels. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lay it right in the middle of the lighter weight paper. Again, you can use scrap paper or whatever. I'm using, like I said, recycled book pages that I have paint on. I'm going to center it in the page, and it's 5.5 by 5.5, so that you've got plenty of room around the edges here. So the cardboard is 4.25 by 4.25. The paper is 5.5 by 5.5. And how I measure my corners is I take 2 layers of the cardboard, the same width as that, and I lay it at a 45-degree angle, and I mark it. So I'm gonna do like this, and like this, and like this, so that I don't end up with a bare corner. So I'm going to trim it like so. And I'm also going to just use an old gift card to like smooth out the paper a little bit here and get it better adhered to the cardboard, and smooth out the glue a little bit. So I just do it like that. Then I'm going to turn it over, and I'm going to glue the sides on like this. I'm going to put some glue on here and fold it over onto my front. I'm going to use my scraper to smooth it down. I'm going to use a little more glue here. And do that to all 4 sides. Alright. Again, you aren't usually going to be using paper, your glue out of a baggie here. Usually you'll have just regular glue that you'll smooth on there. And last side here. Like so. And then it's always a little bit prickly on the corners, and so I just kind of push my corners down, round them out a little bit. And that then creates a little bit smoother. It's not quite as hard on the hands because they can get a little pokey. All right, I have one cover. Let's do the other cover real quick. We need some music to amuse you while I'm doing this. I didn't even think of that. That would have been funner. If I were professional at this, I could, you know, make it go faster or something so that you didn't have to see all this. All right. Same as we did for the other side, we're just gonna place it in the center like this. I'm gonna draw my corners at a 45-degree angle. I'm going to trim them, and you know, because I love my scraps, those scraps will probably end up in something else because they're fascinating to me. All right, I'm going to use my scraper to You may have a special tool for this. I don't. I'm just using, it's an old gift card. It makes a wonderful tool for smoothing things down. All right, we're in the home stretch here. I'm gonna put my glue on here. And smooth it over. And put my glue on here and smooth it over. Tell you, these papers that I used to clean off my brayers on the book pages have just delighted me this week. I just love how they've worked into these books. They're yummy and grungy and make me really happy. So, all right. And I thought I had all of these papers, but I used them all for this. So that was fun. And basically I had used, I'd been making postcards utilizing my gel plate, and this was my brayer clean off pages from all the postcards I made. So double win, yay! All right. All right, I'm going to push my corners in. And I usually try and do that while it's still wet with the glue a little bit. Just I like the effect of it. All right, I have my two covers. I have my innards here. So what I'm going to do is decide which one will be the front. I think this one will be the front. So on the back one, I'm going to put a dab of glue across the center here. And I'm going to cut a piece of ribbon long enough to tie onto the front, around to the front. Sometimes I cut a little extra. If it's too much, I can always trim it later. So I put my ribbon on, and then I glue one of the squares on one end of my inner pages here. And again, you want a pretty sturdy glue because this is a book and it's going to open and close and open and close and open and close. So you want something that's going to hold it pretty well. Whatever your favorite glue is that's pretty sturdy, you want to do that. All right. So now I'm going to take that and I'm going to center it here. And press it down real good. May even go back in with my little pin here and press it in really, really well. And then I'm going to fold the whole book back up. And I'm going to glue. It's popping! Yay! I think I'm going to glue the other piece because that one's popping too much. And then make a mess if I... So I'm going to spread my glue. And the good news is I think I'm using up all that glue that was in the baggie. The bad news is I just need a little bit more to finish this. All right, we're gonna spread that out here. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make sure that my edges line up with the edges of the other book, and then I'm gonna make sure like that. Okay. And now I have another book. And I can decorate the insides. I can continue with the jelly plate, or I can glue stuff in there. There's all kinds of things that can be done with the inside. You just need to make sure that you take into consideration your fold lines and that you don't cover the fold line, because that interferes then with your ability to pop the book open and closed. So even if you're cutting a photo, you would cut it in a triangle shape and leave the fold area open so that your book can fold properly. So I hope you have fun with this, and love to see what you do if you do try this. Sending you big love today. Ciao.